Welcome to the channel for the first time viewers. Welcome back from my existing subscribers. Today I'm going to talk about what used to be the budget box. Now it's a test bench. So I'm using the Thermaltake P3. I think it's the P3 Core, P3 Pro, whatever the next tier of the P3 case is. I will say that the only three intake fans that I'm using, or the only intake fans I'm using, are the 360 AIO from Arctic. That's going to be one that I recommend across the board. I have the 280 in my 13900K build, but since I wanted, it would look weird having just that 280 millimeter on this case, so I went with the 360 from Arctic. Now there's that, and then there's the natural intake from the graphics card. So that is going to be just the fresh air coming in, right? Temperatures are amazing. It's because this is an open air case pretty much, right? So the motherboard, there's nothing really covering it. You can add some extra pieces. This case was very, very annoying to get started. I felt like it was IKEA furniture. So if this is like your first build, I'll try to link the YouTube video that I watched to get the first piece started, but after that it gets pretty simple, right? It kind of tells you how to install the GPU vertically if that's what you want. That's not what I wanted. So pretty much everything you're gonna need to know. Now the reason I compare it to IKEA furniture is because it starts in like step 6, right? So it's like, put this together with this, and now you have your base. It's like, wait a minute, what? Like, you're looking at all these loose pieces, and the imagery on the first step of the instructions is literally like that already put together. So watching that YouTube video really helped me out to get the pieces connected, so I can actually start to attach the feet, right? It wasn't hard, but if you're just looking at it and this was a completely foreign case to me, like you literally open up a box and it's just this large slab, which is the entire the housing of the actual case, right? Then you have to install the arms, then you put the feet on. You literally are building this case, which is cool. So if it's like your first time building, again, watch that YouTube video. If you're an experienced builder, you may be able to get by and just be like, okay, this probably goes here, and then rock out from there. Now, as far as the components used, I shifted over that the Z690 Tomahawk, the DDR4 board that I was using my 13900K. Ever since I moved over to DDR5, I had shifted that over, and I was starting to retire the budget box name anyways, because it didn't really make that much sense. This has a 13700K in it, and I just now dropped the 4080 in it. So you can see that I've been posting some benchmarks recently from that, and it's been really cool, man. So I'm gonna have some B-roll of the actual build process. It's not a full build video, right? Like, it's not like a hey step by step, because I don't want to say I was stressing, but I was trying to figure out how to put all this stuff together. So at the time, that like recording it was not my top concern. So I did have a couple clips where I paused, and it looks really nice. So it presented really nicely. I put it in my community page last week as soon as I was done. Now the power supply, I also want to touch base on that. I'm using the MPG 1000A or something like that. Anyways, it's an MSI power supply, and it is PCIe 5 ready and ATX 3, so it has a single cable. I don't have to use those adapters anymore, those little 3-prong adapters for the 4080 or the 4-prong. It's just a single cable that goes into the power supply, or comes from the power supply, which connects straight into the GPU itself. So it's nice and clean, and I really like that. I enjoy that. I think with my RM1000X, I might go for the same thing. I do have 2 other PCIe cables tucked away in the back, right? So I have it tucked away in the back just in case I go to an AMD card, or I go to my 3070 Ti and I drop it in there, or whatever I want to test out, right? So that way I don't have to take everything out and then start from scratch. I could just pull those out, connect them, and then tuck them back in when I'm done. So that's really cool. But the power supply, again, is 1000 watt, gold rated, and it was super streamlined. So I really like this power supply. At the end of the day, it's just a PSU, but in this case you can actually see a good little bit of it, so it looks really sharp, right? And I just wasn't comfortable using that Apevia that came with the CyberPower PC, right? I didn't read anything good about it online. I looked at the 1000 watt power supplies. There was like no good reviews, and I was just like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and just go get a new one. And I tried the Corsair Shift. So for those of you that are interested in the Corsair Shift, I personally wasn't able to make it work. The cables don't align to where you need it to go, but it was really cool. Like the concept of the case itself was really cool. Well, not the case, but the power supply. And I'm not sure if you can rotate it. If you could, that would kind of solve the issue. But for me, I was just like, hey, it's not fitting. We got dinner in like 3 hours. Let me go get that MSI one, because I was gonna get a 1200 watt one. But yeah, when I ran the cables under, which I had to have the fans or the exhaust for the power supply facing up. I didn't want that anyways. But in order to get to the cables, that's how I had to do it. And with that said, it was kind of like one of those, I think I'm just pushing in whatever hot air, and it's not going to be very hot because it's a PSU, but whatever hot air is coming out of this right into the graphics card. So on top of that, it wouldn't have worked anyways, because I would have needed an extension cable to get to the power supply, because the CPU cable would not go underneath the Thermaltake case. And this probably would have worked completely fine in my Lee & Lee, right? Any other case, I think it would have actually worked fine. But because this is Thermaltake and how you have to go through this kind of cutout that's in the case already, built for PSUs, the PSU cables, it was blocking the actual, because it's kind of meant for you to pass the cables through, but not connect the cables right there, right? So that was one thing that just didn't work out. I don't know if I was able to mount it vertically or something like that, but again, I'm a novice builder with this case, and I wasn't trying to bust out the instruction manuals and do all that stuff again. So I just called it a day, got the 1000 watt MSI, gave me back like 80 bucks, and then threw that 80 bucks into that SSD. So I recently posted about the 11, and that is so far it's been great, right? So it's just a regular SSD, and you snap it into the back. It was easy enough to do. Screw it in. It has slots labeled. The Thermaltake does slots labeled SSD, so HDD SSD, whatever you want to connect, and then got to work. So that was essentially a nice little trade-off there. So this machine overall is, again, just a recap, bring everything back full circle. It's 2 terabytes of NVMe storage, so 2 1 terabyte drives, 500 gigs for the boot drive, 2 terabytes for additional games. That's a regular SSD, and the boot drive is an NVMe as well. And the RAM is that 3200 C14 G Skill, so it's 2x16, and I went ahead and bumped that up to 4000 C15. So I'm getting a good return in games. It was interesting to see in Warzone how high the performance was going with that 13700K and the 4080, right? I'm not gonna say it's faster than my 4090 build, but it's up there. That untuned, just turn on XMP on the 13900K and the slightly overclocked 4090, yeah, it's catching up to that. So it's nice to see. But yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know what case you're using in the comment section. If you're interested in a new case, I'll drop a link to this one. But like I said, this will be the test bench. All right, that's it for now, and I will catch y'all on the flip. Be easy.